Okay, yeah, Angela, let's start. Or do you have any reason why we should wait a little bit more? Can I go ahead?
I have started recording so that because people are still coming in, so I found a gap. So I
Okay,
think let's get going.
okay, let's get going. Cool. Welcome everybody. Just a few housekeeping rules. We uh, usually the webinars is slightly smaller, and so we encourage like interactive engagement and to unmute people. Fortunately and unfortunately, we've had so many RSVPs that I just want to ask everybody to keep your mics off, to remain muted until the end. If you have any questions, because we do like to turn it into a discussion, there's a chat a box in the bottom right-hand corner. So if you have a question, just type it in there, and then at the end of each section, Angela will ask a couple of those, and then I'll try and answer them as best I can. We do have limited space, so Google Meet only allows us to take up to 500 people in the session. So if you do have a colleague or somebody that couldn't get in, we are going to have a rerun next week, Wednesday. So just send your email address to Angela. Angela will post her email address in the chat on the right, and you'll see it pop up. She's also sent an invite to you, so you can just reply to that, and then she will also leave my email address in the chat box. We will send out the deck to everybody. We will also record the session, so we'll send the deck and the recording to you. And the other thing is, what is a bit weird is while everybody's muted, when I present, it's a little bit of an echo chamber, so I can't get a sense of if the stuff makes sense or resonate. So there's a little emoji function at the bottom. It's like a little face. So click on that and like tap a thumbs up or something if there was a specific concept or slide that you like. Cool. So I'm going to get going now. Cool. So just a quick introduction. My name is Ferdy Bester. I've been in digital for about 15 years. I'm Google Analytics certified, ex-ClickMaven, ex-Jellyfish, and currently we work with nice brands like Strauss, they're the biggest art auction house in South Africa, and beyond, the biggest safari company in the world, actually, Virgin Active, and Curo. So that's my background. In terms of the agenda today, I asked quite a number of attendees what they would like to talk about. So I adjusted the agenda slightly. So for example, the first thing to talk about is what is ChatGPT's impact on digital marketing? So this is the main topic is ChatGPT, but everything is going to be in relation to marketing. It's going to be very marketing focused. So ChatGPT's impact on digital marketing. We're going to talk about Google, Bing, and ChatGPT, just in terms of the big changes that's happening in the space. Then very practical session on how to use ChatGPT. So, and it's specifically for competitive advantage. I think not everybody is using it at the moment. So there's some very practical stuff that I'm going to talk about. And then on the fourth one is I'm going to, for the people that's more media, that buys digital media, that does advertising, there's a section on digital media predictions in South Africa for 2023. And then right at the end, we can have a bit of a Q&A session to just talk about the stuff. I think the session will probably be about 60 minutes. But let me get going. So the first thing is ChatGPT's impact on digital marketing. And so the first thing I just wanted to illustrate is how quickly this thing has been adopted in the world. So this is the days to 1 million users for different technology companies. And on the screen, you can see Netflix took a couple of years. Facebook took a year to get to 1 million users. Instagram was 75 days. ChatGPT took 5 days to get to 1 million users. The speed of ChatGPT's adoption, it was incredible. So this thing is here and it's not going away. So I think but everybody in this call, obviously you think it's important. So just wanted to share that. A very important thing that I've realized is that a lot of people don't know what ChatGPT is, and it's very important to just explain what it is, which is amazing. But there's certain things that it's not. So, for example, the first thing is it's a language model. So what it does is you send it a query, and then it statistically decides what is the best response that it can give you. It's not sentient. It's not general artificial intelligence. It doesn't have a personality. It's a big, amazing statistical model, but it's mainly a language model. So if you expect miracles from this thing, it is it just guesses what you want to know. So it can't come up with new things. It just reorganizes patterns that it's seen in the past. So what's interesting about it is the data that it was used to build out and to train this model. So the data, everything on the internet uh, uh, before 2021, it has indexed. It's got in its sort of memory in inverted commas. So if you ask it a question about under the writer today, like it's not going to be able to answer you because all the data is for 2021. It's also that it basically indexed the entire internet before 2021, in a whole bunch of books and the entire Wikipedia. So if you ask it a question about Hamlet, it'll give you an answer. If you ask it a question about, the history of Peru, it'll be able to give you an answer. And the reason for that is because it went and it absorbed all the knowledge from those platforms. So how smart is it? So there's been a couple of tests, but I just want to highlight 3 of them. So it passed 12th grade English essay. So it was able to do that. It passed a law exam at 4 courses at the University of Minnesota, and it passed a Google coding interview for a level 3 engineer. So this thing is pretty smart. So you can actually use it as an assistant to code as well. It can actually help you to write code. But anyway, let me go back to marketing. So the big impact that I'm predicting is, like in marketing specifically, in creativity, is manual work is dead, long live creativity. So I wanted to give an example of this. So I asked a whole bunch of people via LinkedIn. I said, like, is there anything you want covered in the session? So for example, a whole bunch of people replied. So Angelique, thank you for replying. So she replied, and all like 20 or 30 other people replied as well. So what I then did was I asked ChatGPT, can you please summarize the key trends in these separate paragraphs and summarize in 5 bullet points? And what I did is every single person that gave me a response on what they wanted to talk about, I entered it into ChatGPT and I pressed enter. And what happened was it then gave me the top 5 things that people wanted to talk about in this session. So this is an example of the manual work going away. And all I had to do is spend a bit of time to prompt it well, to tell it what I wanted to know. So these are the 5 trends that we want to talk about, but you don't need to read them now. So that's one example. Second example is, please write an article about marketing analytics and AI in 400 words. Use the phrase AI and analytics 3 times. I even made a typo there. Choose a little bit more. And what it can do, it can write this entire article for you. So it is absolutely phenomenal in terms of, if you brief it well, it can spit out content very quickly for you. So the days of having a team of SEO copywriters for your marketing is, if you do manual work, that manual work is going to go away. So I'll give you a third example. So my son wanted to have a cover for his workbook at school. So this is an image generation. So this is like the sister of what ChatGPT is called, Dolly. And my son wanted a picture of Darth Vader. So we prompted it. We typed in Darth Vader with lightsaber classroom digital art, and it rendered this image. So this took about 20 seconds to do. I didn't have to employ somebody to actually go and draw this. So the conclusion of where I am at the moment in terms of marketing and creativity and like the disruption of ChatGPT is, previously, creativity is a small section of the work. So like some of your time is spent on creativity, and then there's an enormous amount of manual work, editing the content, writing it, deep edging, all the stuff that we do in marketing, writing long emails. It takes an enormous amount of work, time. So this is what it was last year, and literally what it is today is you can spend way more time on the being creative and the creative part of the process. It's like what because the writing of, for example, an article has gone away, you can spend more time thinking about what are the key concepts that's really going to add value to you want to talk to. So creativity has got more space to happen. ChatGPT then plays a role in that. It eliminates an enormous amount of time. And then there's an editing part where you have to frame it. So please don't think that ChatGPT is perfect. It's not. What we found is, for example, we created some legal agreements using ChatGPT, and it did about 70% of the work. And then the rest, the last 30 was editing it and making sure that it was valuable and relevant to people. Okay. So, Angela, any questions that's popped up? I know everybody's still joining, so maybe it's a bit difficult. Any questions?
So Trevane posted a comment. I think many of us are worried we are going to lose our jobs to it. And then there was a comment from Greg Roberts. If your job vertical is listed as impacted by AI digital transformation and you don't shift or transform, then there is certainly risk of job loss. AI is just one of the many. So I don't know if you want to comment
Yeah,
on that.
so the ethical conversation and the societal impact, like I think we need 5 hours to debate that and have a panel. I don't really want to dive into that in this session. What I can just say is that the manual work part is going away, and I think the people that do well in this new world is the people that can apply themselves creatively. There will be huge opportunities there, and then there's an entire new industry that's going to be born in terms of how do you prompt ChatGPT, like how do you actually interface with it, and how do you edit it afterwards. So so that's sort of my position on it. But I can spend an hour. We can spend an hour on this, and I don't really want to go into that now.
There was
Cool.
So
I'm
one
gonna go
other
to
question. Sorry, Ferdy. From I think I hope I pronounced these names correctly. Please forgive me if I mispronounce anyone's name. Rachel Sher, is there a best guide to follow for briefing?
That's an excellent question. My answer to that is to be curious and to play with it. So what I've done is nothing exists at the moment. There's no university courses. There's no textbooks about this. This stuff is weeks old. It is absolutely like groundbreaking stuff. So the term for working with ChatGPT is called prompt engineering. So I think like that's the term, and prompt engineering is what I found is usually if I get something out of ChatGPT that I'm not happy with, it means that the input wasn't good enough. So what I found is to very specifically tell it what to do, and then build on that and add it more things. So I'll give you an example. So let's say the article about marketing analytics and AI. What I would ask it to write the articles, it'll then write it, and then I'll say, please remove these 2 themes and add these 3 themes to it. So I think at the moment, play with it, and see what you find. And see what other people have entered as well. So for example, with the image generation, I found it very useful to look at what other people have entered to see what they got, and then I sort of copy that. But this is new. This is like, if you go and spend 100, 200 hours on prompt engineering and research it, you are basically a market expert in this. So it is very new. I hope that helps. Angela, was there anything else? Great question.
Sorry, just multitasking here. People still coming in. All right, there was one other question from Kevishan. Could we say that ChatGPT can be heavily biased based on the content it has learned being one-sided by media and opinion pieces?
Yeah, now we're going back into the ethics conversation. I'll make a short comment on that. ChatGPT is what we make of it. All these AI models, it's based on the data that we feed in. It doesn't have a bias. The bias is the data we give it and the fencing. For example, Microsoft has made it live on Bing. So, and they are absolutely scrambling at the moment to build these fences to keep these biases, perceived biases, in control. Because, for example, if you go and if you put it on data that says apples are green, it's going to go apples are green. If you put it on data that says apples are red, it's going to say apples are red. So I think this is what everybody's figuring out at the moment, is how do you manage these biases. So that's a big thing that Microsoft is grappling with at the moment. Angela, is anything else? I actually want to talk about Bing next, and it sort of touches on this.
Okay, there was another one. Sarah Griffiths, you mentioned that the data it sources to supply content is from 2021 and before. Will that change?
So it's already changed. So ChatGPT is one chatbot. So what has happened now is Bing, they've built a new Bing chat that's based on ChatGPT. So for example, you can see ChatGPT as a big language model, and then what people do is they build smaller pieces on top of it. So for example, if you can get into Bing chat, so Bing chat is based on ChatGPT. It has indexed the web to its current date. So if you go into Bing and you ask it a question about what happened last week, you will actually get an answer. So in short, is ChatGPT is only before 2021, but if you use Bing chat, you'll get up-to-date answer. But remember, it's not always correct, because if Microsoft has now allowed Bing chat to index the internet, but not everything on the internet is accurate as well. So it does make mistakes. We're in a world where things sort of are developing very quickly, and mistakes will be made. Absolutely. Angela, I'm going to go. I'm going to talk about Bing and Google quickly. Okay, cool. So the next section is ChatGPT, Bing, and Google. So just to give some background, is ChatGPT has been built using Microsoft's Azure cloud service. So ChatGPT and Microsoft has had a very long relationship already. So this is not new. So Microsoft saw the potential of this technology, and it invested $1 billion into ChatGPT a few years ago, and then they did another round as well. So just keep that in mind, that ChatGPT is very much in the Microsoft stable. So Google has got its own thing going, but specifically ChatGPT is very has a close relationship with Google. And what's changed in the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, that everybody is just going absolutely nuts about is two things happened. One is Bing Chat launched. So they're using ChatGPT's technology to allow you in Bing to not just do a search, but also chat to Bing Chat. So it's a chat bot that's very similar to ChatGPT. So they've gone live in Bing, which Google is freaking out about. And then the second thing is there's an API that's available now for ChatGPT. So an API is basically a pipe into ChatGPT. So it means that NightJarr can access ChatGPT via a pipe. So what it means is we can directly talk to ChatGPT. We don't need to go to a website. To give you another example, Duolingo, the language program, uses ChatGPT's API, the pipe, to use some of ChatGPT's functionality. So, for example, if you type in something in Duolingo that Duolingo doesn't understand, because it's limited, it's not as good as ChatGPT. ChatGPT will then answer it inside Duolingo, but you'll never know that it's actually ChatGPT on the other end of it. So this API is now opened up enormous opportunities in terms of using ChatGPT in other applications. Okay. So in terms of the search engines, and Google and Bing. So Google's got about 93% of the South African search market share, and Bing has got about 5%. And the impact of that is Google's got everything to lose because it's got this huge business, and Bing and Microsoft have got everything to gain. And that's why Bing went live with Bing Chat so quickly. They know it's not ready. But the point is, even if it breaks, they get press. And you'll see in the New York Times, there's been two huge articles and podcasts about Bing and Bing breaking, frankly, and this weird stuff that Bing has said. But people are talking about Bing. And I think the real smart strategic people at Microsoft was like, we don't have a lot to lose. So let's go for it. And so Google scrambled to launch their own thing, Bard, and it broke, and huge financial implications for them. So this is the interesting thing that's playing out at the moment, is like this Google and Bing thing. So I know it's industry for industry people, but let me explain like what the impact is for everyday marketing people. So, and Bing is very aggressive. So if you sign up for the new Bing, for you to get access to it, it's forcing you to actually use Microsoft Bing as the default search engine on your PC. You have to install the Bing app, add an extension to Chrome. The next time you go into Chrome, Bing then says, please don't change it back to Google. So Bing is being very aggressive to steal market share away from Google. And what we predict in terms of the search market share is Bing is about 5% at the moment, and we think it could move up to 15% by the end of the year. And Bing, for people that is in search marketing, Bing is very good for targeting older people. That's quite economically quite valuable. So especially insurance providers, like this is quite a big deal. Right, any questions around that? Angela, is there anything that popped up?
I don't see anything specifically around Bing. There's just a lot of other questions running in the background, and attendees are helping answer. So,
okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you want me to backtrack on the questions.
Let me go through this one, and then we'll do like a long Q&A section.
Okay, perfect.
Because I think most people have joined for this section. Okay, cool. So how to use ChatGPT in marketing? So the first thing that we saw was just content, like writing articles and writing content for the web and for brochures and for press releases, speeches. It's very time consuming, and this thing can absolutely just very quickly write stuff for you. So here I prompted it. I said, please write an article about marketing analytics and AI in 400 words. Use the phrase AI analytics with a spelling mistake again 3 times. So, and what I did, within about 5 seconds, it produced an article that was about 70–80% there. Now, if you go and paste this directly on the website, A, Google may recognize that you've used a bot, and B, it makes mistakes. And this is where that creativity part comes in, is what is the real insight that you can give to the audience? So ChatGPT can do the hard lifting for you in terms of the manual writing, but you can then say to it, okay, please bring in the themes of Google Analytics 4, or please bring in the themes of AI is free, or, you know, so content is these huge opportunities in terms of using ChatGPT for content. I've put in brackets SEO because it is, but for any other content, it's very useful. You can also, if you have a long piece of content of 500 words, you can say, please just shorten it to 50 words, and it'll go ahead and do that. Massive time saving. The second one is ad copywriting. So anybody that's running Google Ads campaigns, you know, you get these what we call responsive display ads and text search ads. You can use ChatGPT to come up with new variations on what you have, and it saves a lot of time. So for example, here, these are for responsive display ads, and we asked, please write 5 descriptions limited to 80 characters, focus on sales and marketing issues with data. And what it does is it then writes 5 options for you, or you could say write 10, and you can choose then the best ones and edit them. So you'll also see here that it's Americanized. So point number 3 says maximize your sales potential. So this is why you can't just go and cut and paste it into or just use it. You have to edit it, and you have to have a bit of oversight into this. Okay, so ad copywriting is very, very useful for that. This third one is called is image generation. So you know, I think the web is becoming more image friendly. It's becoming more video friendly. So images is an integral part of writing blogs or like posting image ads, and there's very interesting technology. So there's a service called, or company called, not company, there's this, so OpenAI started ChatGPT, and one of the other products is called DALL-E. So DALL-E is an image generator. So what I did here was I said to it, futuristic Johannesburg with lots of plants and solar panels. And what it does is it generates an image for you. This stuff is also still very new. So you'll see that the image on the right-hand side, I asked for like an abstract digital art thing, but it came up with this. And then what you can do is this image, you can then put it in your ad. So, and it's royalty free. So you don't need to use stock images. I hate stock images. You can use these, and they're royalty free. So you can play around with that. There's another service provider called Midjourney, which is a bit more technical to get going. But here, for example, I wanted to generate some images. So the prompt I used was Johannesburg skyline, photorealistic 8K buildings with solar panels, and this is what it came up with. It's for something that like is only a few years old, like this is not bad. Like obviously an artist did draw it, but to get this in like 10 seconds is not bad. And you can then change it. You can say remove the skyscraper, add more solar panels, add more grass, make it blue, or change it into a pencil thing. So this is very exciting, and it's only at the start of using images with AI. Does it take away from artists? You'll recognize what is AI and what is a true amazing artistic photo. Next one, translation. So somebody from eBucks joined us. It's translation. You can use it for translation. So this is eBucks. This is on their website, all English, and I just said to it, please translate this into Afrikaans, and then it translated it. It's not perfect, so I've gone through this, and it's about 80% accurate. So you still need to edit it. But if you have to service your customers in different languages like Zulu, Xhosa, English, or you have some German clients, or you have Dutch clients, like this can get you 80% there. So very interesting. Then the fifth thing is very interesting as well. So you can create your own ChatGPT. So let me just explain that. Let me just pause a moment. So ChatGPT is this language model that is available for everybody to use now. So I spoke earlier about the API. So API is where you have a pipe into ChatGPT. So you pay ChatGPT and say, please translate this for me. And then you can then basically integrate this with your program. So I'll give you 2 practical examples. So Lead Home. So Lead Home has got lots of estate agents. If they need help with marketing and selling properties, you can program ChatGPT a little bit. You can say to it, these are the top 5 things that we've seen work for estate agents. And you can then give a prompt, like an interface, like a web page with a chat functionality. And you can then give that available to all the estate agents. And you can say, like, if you need any help with marketing, I'm here to help. And then the person could go and say, how do I get more leads in the Sandton area? And it'll then spit out some suggestions. So like invest some money into Facebook, invest some money into LinkedIn, make sure that you only target Sandton. So you can then give them an interface to help them with their marketing. For example, Curo's got lots of schools. There's marketing people in a lot of those schools. This could be a way to empower them as well. So for example, Cura, with the interface, you could say, you know, how many leads did I get from digital marketing, or what is the best channel at the moment, and then it can answer for you in English. So it gives you this wonderful human-like interface to empower, if you have it like a distributed a base of people or clients or stakeholders that you need to manage, right? But this is quite complicated. And then the last thing that we're playing with at the moment, which is very interesting, is we gave ChatGPT some data. So we took some of our website data. So this was, for example, just some of the pages that that we have on the website, and it's got information like the number of visitors, you know, how many people attended, you know, how many people went to the contact us page. So we gave it to ChatGPT and basically asked it a question. It said, like, what is, so of all the visitors on this web page, so we gave it Google Analytics data. And then we asked it a question. I said, what is the probability of visiting the contact us page? So it's like we're asking ChatGPT, please interpret the data a little bit and give me and help me with this. And it basically then said, and it calculated it. It was able to recognize the data because the top columns were specified. You can see here it was cut and pasted in the interface, and it basically spit it out, and it said there's a 2% chance that people would visit the contact us page based on your on their patterns. So what we think is where we think this is going is we could give some marketing data to ChatGPT and it can help us interpret the data, which is very interesting. On that note, we actually have a workshop next month on the 28th of March where we're going to dive into this. So if you are interested in making marketing decisions using AI, like this is another webinar we're going to run. It's called AI, the next step for digital marketing analytics. And it's going to be presented by Sheldon. So Angela will post a link in the chat. So just go and sign up for that. Cool. Angela, any questions?
Loads. I'm just posting the link quickly for anyone interested in the upcoming webinar. There we go. Gosh, we've got a ton of questions. Where to start? Let me just have a look. So there's an interesting, very technical one from Muhammad Baruch. What about security risks? People are uploading codes to identify bugs. Hackers can use this to exploit security vulnerabilities and take advantage. I'm not sure if that's something that you can comment on.
Good question. So there's a concern at the moment where if you use ChatGPT through the interface. So this is everybody that hasn't seen ChatGPT. This is the interface where you actually type in how many kilojoules in an apple. So this is the ChatGPT interface, and if you post data into this, ChatGPT uses this to train itself. So when you are posting data in here, just be aware that this is now the property of OpenAI and ChatGPT. So if you do play with ChatGPT, make sure that you anonymize the data. So for example, I'll give you an example. So we took some Google Analytics data and we cut and paste into the interface. Don't say, oh, this is NightJarr's web analytics data. Don't do that. Like, anonymize it. Just say company X has got the following data, and then you paste it in, and then it's basically useless to anybody that accesses it. So that's the one thing to watch out for. Don't be. I don't think there's a conspiracy, but just be aware of that. The second thing that we're still playing with and we haven't figured out is if we use an API to connect directly to ChatGPT and we talk it and we share data with it, where does that data reside? Does it sit in ChatGPT? Does it sit on our side? And we don't have an answer for that yet. Remember, we are marketing people. We're not technical people. We're like technical marketing people, but we're not techies, like coding database experts. So that's sort of where we are at the moment. So I think I think be cautious, but play with it in an anonymous way. I think that's the best answer I can give at this stage. Angela, any other questions?
Jeremy Holden just put his hand up. I'm not sure if he maybe has a question leading on from what you've just been saying.
Okay, do you want to unmute him?
Yeah. So basically, there is some knowledge I know on that topic of hacking and looking on for vulnerabilities. From what I know of the current GPT model, that there are a certain number of packets or tokens as to the limit of how long the response is formulated. So the more you put into the prompt box, whatever data you're feeding it, the longer that is, the shorter the response that ChatGPT can spit out, because there's only a certain amount of, I guess you could say, brain power that it has when it comes down to formulating responses. So if you've got a very short description, it maximizes how much it can give back at you. But if you have a very, very long, let's just say you entered an essay or a Wikipedia page full of information, it's now limited itself as far as how much data it can give back to you. So the responses will be shorter. So
yes,
pouring over code like code for vulnerabilities, it would be probably pretty difficult for the time being.
So Jeremy's raised an interesting thing. So how ChatGPT works is, yes, you use what they call tokens. So like every 3, 4, 5 words is what they call a token. It's like a CPU cycle. It's like a unit. It's a new concept, like a token. And if you're using ChatGPT, the free version that you can see here, then you have a limited amount of tokens per day, or per month. There's a certain amount that you can post in here. And at some point, if you post a lot of stuff, it'll just say, sorry, you've reached your cap. So it's a free version where you can use it up to a point. There's 2 ways to get around this. The one is you can upgrade to Plus. So you can then always access it, because if you access ChatGPT when the Americans are awake, you won't be able to get in. The demand is too high. So if you subscribe $20, you get more tokens. That's the one way. The other way is if you have an API, you pay per token. So if you access ChatGPT directly, you enter your credit card details. Every time you ping ChatGPT, there's a small charge that comes from your credit card. It is very small at the moment, so it's not really a reason not to play with it. But that is correct. Like that's how it works. Angela, I think I'm going to go into the prediction section, and then because that'll take another 10 minutes, and then we can just do Q&A like for the rest of the time. How does that sound?
Sorry, I used my finger to say yes, all good. But thumbs up, go for it, yes.
Okay, cool. So for the media people in the room, for the marketing and advertising people, so digital media prediction. So what is going to happen in South Africa this year? So the first thing that I mentioned earlier was Microsoft advertising is going to become interesting. So why I say Microsoft and not just Bing is, so Microsoft own Bing. So firstly, we think that Bing's market share in South Africa is going to go up. So we think there's a 15% increase. So if you're using Google Ads to advertise, search, it is exceptionally competitive. So the cost per clicks are high, and this gives you an alternative, and it sort of breaks the stranglehold of Google. So that's the first thing. The second thing is Microsoft also won the business to manage Netflix's ads. So there's ad-supported subscription levels already available in the US, and that's going to come to South Africa. So at some point, Microsoft is going to be the gateway to advertise on Bing and also on Netflix, which I think is quite interesting. So the second thing is there's a huge issue coming with Google Analytics 4. So the issue is that when our clients buy media, they want to know what the ROI is. Like is this the money that we're investing in media? Is it actually delivering ROI for us? And Google Analytics 4, we've spent a lot of time in it. Google Analytics 4 is the new analytics that Google is frankly forcing upon everybody. It's not ready yet. It's very difficult to use. It's got full of it's a very difficult platform to use, and they're going to force everybody to switch over from the old analytics to this new analytics middle of this year. I think it's July, and then your old analytics is just going to stop working. It's not going to work anymore. And the new Google Analytics 4 is very difficult to use. So we think this is going to be a big impact on the market this year, is to track like the ROI from your media. The second thing around Google, and I mentioned Google a lot because Google is the biggest player in terms of web analytics. It's the biggest player in terms of advertising. It's the biggest player in terms of video and display. So they are under enormous pressure in the UK, but also more recently in the US. Is they want to, there's calls for Google to break up the stranglehold on the tech space, because they just control a lot of it, and the US Justice Department is quite unhappy about this. The EU is also. And Google has announced retrenchments as well. That's already been executed in the US, but in Europe, it's sort of still playing out. So we just think that Google is going to be distracted for probably for 12 months, and now they're freaking out about this Bing thing. So Google is in a very interesting space. So just watch that. Then TikTok, like I was like, this TikTok, I'm too old. I'm 43 years old. I am too old for TikTok. And then I downloaded it and I was like, this is amazing. And it curated my experience. I thought it was all dance movies, videos, and it's curated this thing for me. It's like, it's comedy skits. It's like, it's very interesting. And I saw this. So this was data from TikTok's sales tech at the moment, and this incredible growth that they've had. They have 13.2 million people in South Africa. Not Africa, not Europe, not US. 13 million people are on TikTok at the moment. It is absolutely huge, and the pace that it's grown. So at the end of last year, 2021, it was 7.1, and now it's 13.2. So it's probably 14 now, or 15. So the speed of this thing moving in the market is incredible. And then so firstly, I was like, the numbers are high. And the second thing was, this isn't for advertisers, it's just young people on it. And then we looked at the age data. It's yes, okay, 34% of the people are 18 to 24. But 28% of the people on the platform is 35 and up. So this isn't a platform for the youth anymore. And it's a very, very interesting platform to look at. And you don't have to make a video of people dancing. Like we're not a creative agency. That's not what we do. But what you can do is you can have normal video ads that just promote your product. You don't need to use influencers and go into that rabbit hole. And you can supply it with data as well. You can upload your customer database into TikTok if you feel comfortable with that. And then you can show ads to your customers or lookalike audiences. LinkedIn, we've seen big pickup from LinkedIn. I think that the quality of Google's search, especially for B2B businesses, has gone down. It's not as targeted anymore. And LinkedIn tells you exactly where somebody works and what they do. And we see, and I know everybody is always like, yes, but the CPC is 30 Rand. The CPC in Google is 10 Rand, but it takes to get a proper person, somebody that you want to potentially work with, it takes 10 clicks to get that person. So that's 100 Rand. And in LinkedIn, you only pay 30 Rand for that person. So we see that playing out. This, and then number 5 is very new and interesting. Microsoft Bing. So the chat in Bing, when it gives you an answer, it references other websites. So it's referencing, so you can then click and go to those sites. So obviously the spider from Bing is spidering. So this is quite technical. The spider from Bing reads all these web pages, and traditionally you would SEO your site and make it friendly for the search engines to find you. But now there's another play in town is chat, Bing's chat, so ChatGPT. So there will be like an SEO for ChatGPT or Bing Chat. So that's something that's going to start developing in the next couple of weeks and months, and that could be a place for competitive advantage. So in terms of the predictions in media, we think that this ROI measurement issue is going to become a big thing in the next 3 months. It's going to, your old analytics are going to get switched off and you'll be flying blind. Big impact. TikTok, big impact. Microsoft advertising, we think there's a medium impact on that. Definitely keep an eye on that. LinkedIn, if you're in B2B, have a look at LinkedIn. It's really interesting. We think that Google's cost per click is going to come down, and the reason for that is because people are going to shift money into Bing and into TikTok, so that's quite interesting. And then this SEO for ChatGPT, it's still low, but if you are in a super competitive industry, like, you need to start looking at that, and that's the way that you're going to get competitive advantage. Right, cool. Q&A, epic Q&A. Angela.
Okay, so I'm going to work backwards. So question from Con Fincham, sorry, is there an alternative to Google Analytics?
Yes, there is. It's called Matomo. So it's a analytics software that you can, you have to pay for it. You know, I think it's $50 a month. So that's available. You can look at that. If you're a corporate, you could look at Adobe Site Catalyst as well, but it's quite expensive, about $1 million a year. So if you're corporate, then Site Catalyst. If you're small to medium, Matomo.
All right. Then I see. Okay. How is ChatGPT different from Google Translate when it comes to translating? So I'm combining two questions here. And
Okay.
does it translate all official languages available?
So Google's Translate uses Google's language models. So Google's got two language models. The one is called Bard, that you may have heard of, and the other one is called Lambda, that was developed by DeepMind. So Google's translation engine runs on those two engines. It's got nothing to do with ChatGPT. In terms of ChatGPT, the languages, that's a fantastic question. I'm going to take a guess. I think I've tried Zulu, and Zulu came up. I can't tell you if it was good or not. Afrikaans is one of the most niche languages in the world, and that came up. So I think if there's a lot of content on the web around a specific language, ChatGPT probably trained on it, so it'll be able to do all the big languages: Spanish, Portuguese, probably Chinese as well. So I think the big languages. I think the interesting thing is, if a language doesn't have a big presence on the internet, then I think the training is limited. So that's how it works. So it goes, if I've got enough data, I can become really smart. If I don't have data, I won't be smart. So my answer to you again, I think with this question and most questions is to be curious, go and test it out and see if it works. So I think that's my answer. Next question.
Okay. I believe that you can upload company documents, etc., and the bot will actually learn about your company and can then respond accordingly with relevant content. This is a question from Taryn.
Yes, Taryn. So this is interesting. So what happens is, if you start a new chat, I'm going to share my screen here. If you start a new chat, it remembers your the previous information that you have. So if you then ask it follow-up questions, then it'll take all of the stuff that you've spoken about into consideration before. Let me show you one that I did here. So I asked it quite a complicated thing. I said, please explain the biggest themes in the Hamlet, Shakespeare's Hamlet. What it did, it then gave me this answer. So what you can then do is you can build on it. You can then say, please expand on madness. And then what it'll do is, the answer that it'll give, it won't start from scratch in terms of madness. It'll say, oh, we're talking about we're talking about Shakespeare here. So madness is Shakespeare. This is the question is in context with Hamlet. So it's like a normal conversation that you have with somebody. So if, for example, you took your company's data and you literally posted it in here, you can then say, okay, cool. So please tell me, what do you think we do? And then they'll give you an answer. Or you could say, please shorten this description of the company into 50 words, and then it'll do that. So yes, you can upload the data and ask it questions or give it instructions. Great question.
So I've got just a question from that, from Stefan. Does it make a difference if you ask nicely?
Yes, it replies nicely. It does. So again, it's a language model. So if I say to you, Angela, would you please read out the next question to me? Angela's going to go, because this is how language is built. It's like, yes, Fadi, you're being so kind today. I'll do that for you. So yes, it's a language model. If you are rude to it, maybe it will be courteous and not be rude back to you. But if you're friendly with it, it'll be friendly back to you. So I'll show you a very interesting one. Is you can dictate and tell it to write it in a specific style. So you can then say, rewrite in the style of Donald Trump. So what it'll do now, it'll take this whole section and it'll rewrite it in the style of how Donald Trump speaks, because there's so much content on the internet about how Donald Trump speaks that it can then actually service this request. I think it feels a little bit uncomfortable talking about Donald Trump now, but let's see what it spits out. So while this is generating, do you have another question, Angela?
I do. I've actually got a couple. I see that we're 4 minutes to go till 11 o'clock. I just wanted to check. Shall we just? Is everyone fine to go over time? Who can stay?
Yeah, you're welcome
just
to
so
jump
we can
off
tackle
as well.
some of them. Okay. So Isabella's asked 2 questions. She asked one right at the beginning of the presentation. Would ChatGPT be very West biased, as most of the content would be from English sites? How about having an Afrocentric view? And then second question was, what happens to copyright? Is there still something to that?
Okay, so first question is, we get again in the bias semi-ethical domain. I think what is interesting, and please remember, is it's trained on the data that it has. So if the internet is skewed towards Western thinking, yes, it's going to be Westernized. There will be bias protection that sort of tries and guards against biases. On the positive side is, if you, for example, you can train your instance of ChatGPT on whatever you want. So if you wanted to have an African-centric view, feed the thing books about that view of the world, and then then your instance will then talk about that. So remember, this thing doesn't know right or wrong. It's a program. Please remember, it's not sentient. It doesn't know so we have to teach it what is a bias. So in that instance, you can then train it and say, please go and read these books, and you can then train it on that. Then in terms of copywriting, remember that ChatGPT can't generate anything new. It can only rewrite stuff that's been written in the past. So it may be lucky and get some combinations of words together to form a new sentence, but in terms of copywriting, I think copywriting, what's amazing for me is, in one sentence you have to describe what a company does and the products, and I don't think a machine can do that. I think that the machine can give you 10 different variations of it, and then you need to take 1, 2, 3 and panel beat them and work on them. So I actually think, so from a pure copywriting point of view, I think this takes away a lot of the manual work of copywriting, and it gives time to go and have a coffee and really think about that. What is that one headline that's going to pull the heartstrings for a customer? So I think it frees up a lot of time, removes the manual element of it. That's my view.
All right. So Vijanta Naidu has put their hand up. I'm assuming it's a continuation of what's being discussed right now. Vijanta? Okay. I'm not sure what's happened to Vijanta.
Okay. Anybody else with a question? Cool, Jane. Thanks.
Oh, there we go. Sorry, that was my mistake. Okay, hang on. Wait. I think Vijanta's coming back.
Any other questions?
Okay, I'll have a look. There was one from Lungisa Sitoli. From an experienced design arena, with regards to things like user journeys, product use cases, persona generation, and all the way through to market research, could it help in providing substantial information, or can we use such platforms for assistive information?
Good question. So my experience with this is it is as good. Okay, so let's think practical. Persona development. If, for example, you have 5 key themes around a persona, you can then say, please write a persona document for me and use these 5 key things, and it can then spit it out for you. So it can help with the documentation and writing out the concept, but you have to think about the personas and the competitive advantage or the unique characteristics of the stuff. So it's not gonna, when it comes to conceptual stuff, no, I think that's in the human domain. When it comes to executing and creating the documents and writing the strategy document and like that, it can do that manually for you quite quickly. In terms of interpreting data, the data has to be supplied. It doesn't have the data. You need to supply it with data, and then it can then possibly help you to infer things. It can do basic calculations. It can even write code for you. So what is interesting, and we haven't covered this really in the session, was this API that's available. It allows a whole bunch of new tools to help you with this kind of stuff. So, for example, you have the image generation things. We've used a software called, I think, what did we use again, Angela, for the transcribing? I know Otto.ai is one of them. It's a whole.
Yes, it was app.notter.ai.
Yeah. So there's a whole bunch of AI-based software that's being built on top of ChatGPT and image generation that can do a lot of this work in designing. And if you, for example, you get a logo generator.ai, it can generate logos for you if you tell it what the name of the company is. So yeah, so I think that's my best answer is if it's conceptual, that's human domain. If it's manual, then it's like boom, like it can help you with that.
So Ferdy, there's a lot of questions around the copywriting aspect. Isabella came back again to say, if ChatGPT can use any copy on the internet, does it mean that anything that says copywritten at the bottom of a website becomes meaningless? We've got a student here who's also asking, are there copyright issues as a student? Are there any legal repercussions for using ChatGPT for blogs, web copy? So I think there's quite a general concern in this specific area.
I'll give you my view of like what's playing out here is image generation. So the image generation stuff that I spoke about, it was trained on real artists' work. So for example, if you type in Van Gogh Starry Night, then you can say cat. Please generate an image with a cat and in the background it's Starry Night in the style of Van Gogh, and then it generates that image for you. So what's happened is a lot of the artists have now come together and they're suing these image generation companies because the image that you got is based on the IP of this artist and they're not being compensated for that. So there's huge lawsuit there in the image generation. It's already been filed. In terms of the training models and the language, this stuff is so new that it's still wild. I think as a student, if you use ChatGPT, is it plagiarism? No, you're not using somebody else's. It's generating the words for you. But I think this is what academic institution needs to handle now. It's like is ChatGPT allowed? But now if it's not allowed and everybody else in the world uses it, what is the role that we play? So I think there's a redefinition again, like what is mechanical and what is like true creativity and human stuff. And I think that debate is only happening now. People are like, we don't know what to do. The schools, my brother is an English teacher, and he was like, no, this won't reply. And when I showed to him, he's like, oh my word, this is a big issue for me. So and then coming back in terms of the copyright, in terms of the copy on the web, it used the copy on the website to train itself, so to learn how to speak English. So if it then speaks English, is that copywriting? I don't think so, because if I go to your website and you use a new English word that I've never seen before and I learn something, then I'm like, okay, I've learned a new word, but I can use that word. You don't have copywriting on that word. So yeah, that's sort of where we are at the moment. As I said again, it took 5 days to get to 1 million users. People don't know what to make of this yet. The one thing is it's not going away. So these conversations need to happen and people need to find their place again. I think the guiding principles for me is like be curious, and B is manual work is going to go away. Like, so how do I redefine my role in terms of the prompting of it and the editing and the real creative element of it? I hope that answers the question. Anybody else?
Well, Vanessa Willemse, she made a comment, 30. I hope you can see we will have to have more sessions on this. Thanks, Vanessa.
Thank you. We do have one, as I said before, in a month's time, where we're going to talk about marketing data and AI. So we're definitely going to talk about that. Then we will have a rerun. Angela, I think we'll probably have a rerun next week, Wednesday at 2:00 as well. If you want to, if you couldn't join or you joined late or whatever.
We made it for 11:30, so it's next Wednesday, 11:30.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, not a problem.
Any other questions?
So Khan Fincham says, does the content change depending on location? So using a VPN can change the content?
Great question. Don't know. Be curious. Try it. See what happens. I honestly don't know.
Sinegugu Ngwenya, with regard to accessibility, especially with Africa's internet connection issues, how can it be made more accessible to people?
So luckily, the good news about ChatGPT is it's text. So you can access it using a very low bandwidth connection. So you can access it on a very old phone because it's just text based. So I don't think there isn't a bandwidth issue. There's a bandwidth issue in South Africa. Yes, I completely understand that. But in terms of the role that ChatGPT can play to make it as small as possible for people to use it, they've done that. It's a very, very slick text-based interface. There isn't big images that loads. The big computing power that happens on their side, on Microsoft Azure service, and we don't have to pay for that.
I think that we've possibly covered all the questions. There's one last one. I mean, I know that we're heading towards the 11:10 mark, but I thought this one was quite a relevant one from Kelly Anley. Is ChatGPT able to do web email coding, or is that wishful thinking?
Yes,
I know that there were a couple of answers from other attendees, but I thought that one might be a good one for you to also tackle.
Yes, it can. So it can write code for you. So please So I'm gonna use this copy. So it actually came up with that Donald Trump stuff. And then I'm gonna go new chat. New chat. No, doesn't want to do that. Hates me now. Okay, let's just use this part. Please add HTML for email on the above copy. So it can generate code for you. So so if you use GitHub, so GitHub, for example, is a coding platform, and they currently use ChatGPT to help them code. So this one broke now, but you can generate code, HTML code for emailers in this thing. So it can also help you to learn how to write code. So the answer is yes, you can. It's crazy. Next question.
Con actually put his hand up. Con?
Yeah, we were just asking if you could share your screen with the code.
Oh, it actually broke. It didn't come up. What you can do is give it a piece of copy and then just say, please wrap it in HTML. And what it'll do is it may break as well. It may then generate the HTML for you in terms of using it on the mailer. So there's a piece of software called Copilot. So Google it, Copilot. Maybe Angela just posted the link in chat, where it can help you code in HTML or PHP, Ruby on Rails, etc. So it's very successful in terms of helping people code. Yes, it's bizarre, but yes, it can. Yeah, Copilot. There we go. Next question. So you can, if you have a question, you can unmute and actually just ask. We don't have 500 people in this session anymore. So.
Karabo, yeah. So Karabo, go for it.
I may have missed this, but I know earlier on you showed that that future picture of Johannesburg. How did you get it to create a picture? Because I thought it was just a language.
So what's interesting? Let me show you. This is the software is called DALL-E. It's also by OpenAI. OpenAI created ChatGPT, and this is the interface for that. So you can tell it what to generate. So I would say cat in the style of Starry Night. We could say digital art. Okay, and what it'll then do is it'll generate a.
Sorry, we can't see your screen at the moment anymore.
Oh, thank you. Well, that's embarrassing. Just a second. So this is. So can you see my screen now?
Not yet. Oh, yeah, it's coming now.
Okay. So this is. So let me just start over. So the software is called DALL-E. It's also been created by OpenAI. And what you can do is it gives you a prompt. You can then type in whatever you want to type in here. So you can say, this is where I did the Johannesburg thing. So I would say Johannesburg digital art with solar panels and hanging gardens. And it would generate an image for me. So this is one I just did now. So I said cat in the style of Starry Night, digital art 4K. And this is what it came up with. So these are the 4 images that it thinks represent that line. And you can type anything in here. So let me show you another example. I was like Happy Shakespeare and a computer pencil style, and this is what it came up with. I could say a webinar, very handsome webinar presenter with coffee in hand. There we go. And what it then does is it's been trained to sort of try and give you the closest thing to what you asked for. So there we go. It's generated these really cheesy as like images, stock images of like somebody who's presenting at a webinar. So now you can say, okay, this is interesting, but let's make it pencil art. So it then goes, okay, you weren't happy with that. Let's change it. Let's see what it comes up with now. There we go. So there we go. So this thing isn't perfect, but it's incredible for what they've achieved just to generate stuff. So for example, here is a platinum mine with solar panels. This is what it came up with. So there's another one called Midjourney that's also worth playing at, which I think is a little bit better than this one, but it requires a bit of technical knowledge to use. Okay. Any other questions?
Just remember, for those still on the line, you don't need to post your questions. It's open floor now, open mic session.
Yeah, whatever you want. Cool.
Hi, Ferdy. Thanks again for the presentation. Really dope.
Sure.
Have been playing with it as a marketer, but I also got a chance to play with Perplexity. Have you tried that?
No, I haven't played with Perplexity yet. Is it good?
Yeah, Perplexity is basically almost the same, just
Okay.
gives you references as well. So you can ask it
Okay.
questions
Yeah.
and it will give you the answers and add on the references that it got it from. So you can further, reassure yourself that the information that it's sourcing from
Oh, cool.
is from. So it's the same thing as it's also a chatbot, but it's more of ask questions that I don't know that would I do recommend that people try it. It's Perplexity AI, and it's almost on the same basis. Just word generation, not image generation though. But I
Okay.
found it to be a very useful tool as well.
Do you want to post it? Just leave the URL in the chat.
Will do.
Pass. Thank you.
Thanks again. Yeah.
Cool. Any other questions? Nothing else. Cool. Sure. Then let's wrap up. Angela, should we wrap up? Is there anybody else has got a question?
No, I think that we've covered the majority of it. If anybody has questions, please, you've got the email address we posted earlier. You're welcome to drop us an email. I can repost it again so that it's at the end of the chat and you don't have to go scrolling through everything. But otherwise, no, I think we've covered everything.
Okay.
And great having all of you here and for the engagements. It was really great
for joining. Maybe as a parting thing is in the chat box, just like what else would you like to learn about? Remember, we're in marketing, so don't ask me about ethical questions. Like any other topics you want to discuss in future workshops, that would be amazing. So just leave that in the comments. Oh, cool. There's our email addresses as well. Pleasure, Kevistan. Thanks, Itai. Kanya, I also hope Google Analytics 4 is going to be great in a couple of months. The architecture is amazing. Using it is just, we just find it very difficult to use and to actually get data out of Google Analytics 4. Just a tip on that is we like using Looker Data Studio. That's a great interface to get data out of Google Analytics 4. So we usually build dashboards for clients because getting the data out of Google Analytics 4 is just too difficult at the moment. But I sincerely hope that they improve the product. So. Data Studio GA4 creation. Absolutely. GA4 templates in Looker. Yeah, there are templates. I think there's a couple of people that sell templates as well that you can go and buy. The challenge that we've seen with these templates are they're always desktop based, and we find that clients love having a mobile friendly one where it's like a little it looks like a little, you save the web page and then it looks like a little app on your phone. And when you open it up, it loads the dashboard in a mobile-friendly fashion. So that's the one thing. So we just found mobile-friendly ones are super useful because you can lie in bed and have a coffee and then look at your data. And then the second thing is every business has got different KPIs that drives the business forward. And the terminology that's used in Google Analytics 4 is like clicks and impressions. And decision makers and the business owners, A, don't always understand the terminology. And secondly, every business's big driving KPI is different. So for example, if webinar signups is your big thing, it's going to be called an event, something weird thing in Google Analytics 4. But if you use a template but you rename it or you build your own one, then you can name it whatever you want. You can go webinar signups, and then people go, oh, okay, it's a webinar signup. It's not an event number 73512. So yes, so play with the templates, but we've just seen great value in customizing the dashboard for the business and making it less technical and more relatable to the team and the leadership in the business. Cool. Any other questions? Let me see if there's any other chats. Okay. Oh wait, there it's loaded now. Sheldon, great session, Ferry. Yeah, Sheldon is up next week. So I have to bring his A game. Okay. I think that's it. Is anybody else has got something to say? A question to ask? So Angela, this is awkward now. Do we just end the webinar? Kick everybody out?
No. Yeah, I think we're going to have to boot you all out soon. I just did a quick squiz through some of the suggestions around future topics, and I think there's some exciting stuff there. So thanks so much for the for the suggestions. And if we do boot you out before you manage to post one, email us.
Yeah, please.
Okay.
We appreciate. We want to make the webinars valuable, so that's why I also reached out to a lot of you on LinkedIn to just ask, like, what do you want to have covered? These sessions isn't about us; it's about like what are the changes in the industry. Now, how do you prepare yourself and tool yourself? I think as two parting things is one, when I think about ChatGPT, is the one thing is remain curious and play with it. If you're not curious, you're going to be left behind, frankly. There's huge changes coming now. And then the second last one is the manual stuff. If you're doing manual stuff, you're wasting time, and that's going to be replaced. So go and find the creative value that you can add in terms of marketing. Cool.
And I think that there's definitely interest in so all the topics that are suggested. The one was specifically asking in terms of the South African landscape. So yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, let's wrap it up. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Please go and have some coffee. Have some coffee. Cool. All right.
Bye.
Bye.